Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for being here and joining me. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our Office Suite today, and especially our Office Suite moving forward and some changes that we're going to make to really help evolve that Office Suite and welcome in like this new age of productivity. The title of this presentation is Welcome to the Future of Productivity, and I just don't think I'm cool enough to say that line. So you're all going to stick with me, but that's essentially what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to go over a few key things here, and I'm sure you've all been in a bunch of different presentations about a bunch of different apps, right? Different business apps going across different areas of business. That's kind of what we're here to talk about, right? We'll talk about all of these apps that are specific to certain areas of business. So for instance, CRM, books, campaigns, inventory. These are all things that help with specific business processes. CRM is there to help with your sales process. Books is there to help with your financial processes. Campaigns is there to help with your marketing processes. Desk is there to help with support, right? These are all specific things, and they're all integral to business. But with this whole other layer that we offer is productivity tools. And what these are really designed to do is to empower and to enable the rest of the suite. So we're going to talk about those tools in specific, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how they work with all of the different pieces of the Zoho ecosystem as well. So we're going to explore a few different apps in this session. We're going to talk about Zoho Writer. Zoho Writer is our online word processor, similar to Google Docs. We're going to talk about Zoho Sheet, which is our online spreadsheet tool. It has a couple new features coming up that are going to be really, really interesting to see. We're going to talk about Zoho Show, which is our presentation tool. All of the presentations that you've seen at Zoholics this year and last year and for the last at least 5 years, were all done with Zoho Show and presented via Zoho Showtime. So I'm going to show you some of the cool features there, and then we're going to talk about Zoho Notebook. Zoho Notebook is one of our smaller apps, but it's essentially an online note-taking app, similar to like Apple Notes or whatever notepad you have on your computer, but with a couple other things that really enable it to increase your productivity and work contextually where you are. So I'm going to show you the basics of each of these, and I'm also going to show you some of the things that we have coming up to really empower them and make them stronger for your business. But I like to back up here and talk about why. Why are we talking about all of these different apps? I know we're here talking about Zoho. We've talked about Zoho One, but why are we talking about all of these other productivity apps? If Google Docs does the same thing as Zoho Writer, why are we talking about it? Well, for one, they don't do the same thing necessarily. But also, we're talking about centralizing that ecosystem a little bit more. And when we think about this, I like to think about how businesses typically run, right? Maybe you have a Slack channel. Now, Slack is really good about their integrations. They'll enable you to pull a lot of things into Slack. Like you can pull in your CRM to Slack. You can pull in some finances to Slack. You can pull up maybe some project management. But you can't actually pull Slack into those other places. So you can't have them in the applications where your team is doing their work. For instance, in CRM, you may want a tool to communicate there. Inside Books, you may want a tool to communicate there and to help you with project management there. And that's really what we're talking about when we talk about this strategy is contextual integration. Contextual integration is one of my favorite phrases, and it's one that I think we use a lot internally and that people don't necessarily know exactly what it means. So I like to break it down a little bit. What does contextual integration mean? What this means is that we're putting the information in the place that you need it, in the place that you're doing your work, and we're enabling that integration to empower different areas of business. So for instance, maybe you're in your email. Most salespeople are in their email a lot, right? They're getting emails from customers, emails from leads, emails from prospects. And while you're in your email, maybe you want to add a lead to your CRM. A contextual integration is something that would allow you to add that lead from directly inside your email instead of copying and pasting that information or, I don't know why you would write it down, but you could write it down or maybe export it something or maybe you like copy and paste incorrectly or one of the numbers gets lost at the end and you can't track down that phone number and you're going through all of your email threads and all of these signatures to try and track down his correct phone number. And this skips that whole step, right? It allows you to easily add from that place. Another good example is, for instance, your books. Maybe you want that to work with your CRM so that people can easily see. Maybe you want to know what lead record or what customer record is associated with an invoice. So these are different things that really enable that direct growth. And I like to talk about this in the terms of a use case, because it's still a little amalgamous. It's still a little hard to understand. So we're going to look at a use case specifically for signing document workflows. And that's one of the things that we're really looking at when we talk about our productivity suite, especially, is how we are automating things to increase efficiency in your business. So we're talking about how you can take those business apps, how you can layer over those productivity tools to really improve the way that your business is operating and enable you to be more productive in the spaces that you're already working. And that's really kind of the crux of the Zoho platform, is we're talking about the breadth of applications that allow you to not only manage all of those different business processes, but allow you to enable these productivity tools to bring in that productivity to your organization, to bring in that efficiency. And on top of that, the depth within each application. So even though we're only talking about productivity tools in this session, we're going to dive really deep into some cool features that are coming up that will allow, say, row-level integrations with your spreadsheet where it syncs with your CRM, or OCR reading so that your spreadsheet can take a written form and translate that into a spreadsheet for you. So all of these things that go really deep into their specialized area to help automate those processes that you never even thought you would need. And then we're talking about that integration. So for instance, we're going to talk about how in Zoho Writer, you can pull in information from CRM to bulk create documents. You can pull in information from Desk. You can pull in information from books to create reports. And then on top of that, the value that this all creates for your organization by having that centralized ecosystem. And that's a lot of what I talk about. Like, how many of you use other productivity tools like Slack or Asana or Trello or some other chat tool? Now, how is it trying to get your team to work with that tool plus Zoho plus whatever productivity tools you have going on? It's a lot of this comes down to getting the buy-in from your staff, especially when it comes to the things that you need to be tracking. Like maybe you need to be tracking hours, maybe you need to be tracking productivity in spreadsheets. All of these things that when you're spreading your business across disparate ecosystems, you're losing that centralized value and you're losing a lot of buy-in from your team in terms of actually using these tools. And they just end up kind of sitting there. I don't know how many times I've created a project in Trello and then like sent it to people and I'm like, hey, check this out. They're like, oh, it's not where I'm looking. It's not where I'm working. It's not in my CRM. It's not in my email. It's not in the place where I'm going to be paying attention, and therefore I'm not going to use it. And this is what I think really comes down to the value of having this entire ecosystem, is centralizing all of those things where your team will readily use them. And on top of that, playing with others. So making sure that those integrations still play well with Dropbox, if that's what you have to use, if with Google Cloud, with WordPress, for instance. If you have a WordPress site, most of the internet these days is on WordPress. And so we're going to make sure that we still play well with those other people so you can still pull them in to the places where you're doing your work. So let's talk about one specific example here. We're going to talk about automating document workflows. And for this, we like to look at a common scenario for a non-disclosure agreement. These can be a little bit complex. Okay, I need an NDA. I'm talking to a customer about the specific thing. I need them not to talk to anyone else. Write that up for me. Take care of it. They write up this document for you, and then they send it to you. So they're like, oh, I don't know what client you're talking about. Tell me the client name. Tell me their company name. Tell me their address. Tell me what they need to not tell other people, right? Tell me the context of the situation. So you go and you tell them all of these things, maybe over chat, maybe you have a phone call. And they personalize the doc. They add all of that in, and they save that doc. They probably download it. They probably email it to you, where you then have to download it and then re-upload it to whatever cloud platform you're using. Or maybe you're using like a on-prem processor like Word, and you save that document and you open it, and then you realize that the formatting isn't the same and that the legal team uses a different document software than you do, and so everything looks wrong. So you send it back to them, they reformat the doc, and they send it back to you. But anyway, you get this doc, and you email it over for the signatures. The person who's supposed to sign it, they print it, they sign it, they re-upload it, and they send it back. Or maybe you need a fax, so they print it, they sign it, they fax it to you, and then you realize that you haven't had a fax machine since 1999, and you don't know where to find that fax, so you have to go and hunt down the last person in the company that knows how to operate the fax machine and make sure that works. This is a really common scenario, and it seems like something that's just a part of business. It's just a part of life that we have to suffer with this, like, we'll always have to just print things out. and then sign them and then re-upload them and then have to make sure that we always have the right formatting, make sure that we always have the right signatures, make sure things are always where they should be. Or maybe we'll simplify it a little bit, right? Maybe we have some tools here to help make things easier. So we have our legal team, they create a document. Maybe they're using an online word processor like Zoho Writer. So you're able to actually collaborate around it. You're actually able to make some changes. You're able to finalize that contract without having to have a phone call or have a meeting or have like 50 chats talking about what exactly it needs to be. You're able to collaborate on that. You're able to pass that document on to the colleague, right? Your legal team comes back, gives it to you. Then you prepare the document for signing. Make sure it has all of the correct information. Send it over to the customer. The customer signs it, fills out their details. Maybe they're using an e-signature platform, so things are still a little bit easier. They're able to sign that and send it back to you. Still okay. It still takes a while, but it's probably what most of you are doing. Does that sound familiar? That's how most businesses operate these days, is there will be some sort of document you're collaborating around. Someone will sign it. E-signing is getting even more popular, and it's super powerful, so I highly recommend it. And this is a good way to get things done. It gets the job done, right? But it still takes a while to collaborate around this, to do this. And imagine if you're doing this for maybe 10 customers. Maybe you had 10 customers at an event and you need them not to talk about it. So you have to fill this out for each individual customer. You fill out their individual details. You individually send it to them to sign. You individually receive it. You have to track that you received that. Maybe you have a spreadsheet where you're keeping track of all of the people that you've heard back from. So it can still take a little bit of time. So we're going to talk about what that NDA workflow would be like with Zoho. So with Zoho Writer, you would have that document already on the cloud where you can access it. And on top of that, you can get those personalized copies in bulk. This is thanks to the CRM contextual integration with Writer. So from inside Writer, you can pull in contact name will be here, company name will be here, deal value will be here. Pull in all of these personalized details, but do that in bulk for however many customers, however many people you need to send this to. And that on its own eliminates a good amount of time. But you're able to also create those documents from templates with Zoho Writer. So we have templates available for a lot of really common business processes and contracts, and a lot of those templates already have those CRM fields in them. So that takes away a lot of the time in terms of actually creating it to start with. And then sending it for digital signature. Now, instead of exporting this and sending it individually, or you wouldn't want to send a link to it because it would have personalized details for everyone. Maybe you have it create like different copies of the document, and you have like 50 different documents in your cloud storage system, and then you're tracking each of those for their customer signatures. But in this case, they just send directly. So as soon as you fill that out, you can have a workflow that will send that document from Writer. And that will automatically integrate with Zoho Sign, our e-signature platform, so that your people can sign that contract right from there. They don't need to download anything. They don't have to sign into anything. They don't have to configure anything, reformat anything. All they have to do is e-sign that document. And this really makes that whole process a lot simpler and take a lot less of your time, especially if this is something that you're doing in bulk. If you're working with customer contracts in bulk, it can be a hassle. And this automates a lot of that, so you really don't have to worry about these minute details that could easily go wrong. I mean, not to even mention, what if you like misspell a customer name, or misspell their email, or misspell their company name? These are all things that happen a lot. They've happened to me a lot in business, and I can't imagine if I was a business owner how much this would happen. This eliminates all of that room for error because it's all automated. It's all coming from the system that you know has your most accurate data on your customers. And that's really what it's about. It's end-to-end document workflows. So it's going all the way from creating that document, maybe from a template, maybe from scratch, assembling that document in bulk so that you don't have to go through and manually do each one. You're just getting it all done in bulk and getting that signing done in bulk as well. This is a whole process that you can literally do with 5 clicks of a button and then not worry about until you hear back from all of the people that you sent it to. But let's look a little bit ahead. That's something that you can do now, but what's coming up? How are we going to be able to keep doing more of these things in the future and keep customizing them for different unique business processes? I'm a big believer that every business is different, and no matter if you're doing the exact same thing, have the exact same customer base, have the same number of staff, and use the same software, you have a unique process that's different. And that's one of the things that we're really trying to work with, is working with those unique processes to allow you to develop and decide what needs to be automated and how things should work. So we're looking at simplifying document workflow, triggers, and actions. So we're going to be launching a automation system through Writer that will allow you to easily build workflows, essentially allowing you to drag and drop different items that need to be done into a workflow that you can then automate and execute. And when I mean execute, I don't mean tell your staff to look at this page and read it and know what to do and go do that manual thing. I mean, click a button and it happens without you having to do anything else. We're all really excited about, because it's going to allow people to really customize and automate their work processes to save you a ton of time. And that's all time that you can invest back in your business. This is a little bit about what that looks like. So you can see here we have a contract for a florist. We pull over and you can see what I like here is it's all simple. Like, we're not using really complex terms here. You don't have to know like what the company executive title is, for instance. We just call it name of the account manager, right? And then we easily fill in these details and easily fill in who's it supposed to be signed by, has their emails. This means that it sends that email from within Writer. That's on its own a whole step that can get really complicated. Do you send the doc? Do you share the doc with global permission so everyone can see it? Do you share it with only a unique individual, but maybe they need their boss to see it before they sign, so they email back asking for permissions? Maybe you download that, but the formatting's off. Whatever it is, this allows you to easily automate that and execute from within the software that you're already working in. Now, Zia is a deep learning engine. That means that she's not just some regular API. She is going to learn from what you ask her to do and learn from the data that you give her and the workflows that you give her. Now, Zia is now built into our entire Office suite. So we have Zia in Writer, helping you write better, helping you make sure that you have all of the things covered that you need to, checking your grammar, checking your spelling in ways that different spelling tools haven't always been able to. We have Zia in Sheet, giving you insights about all of your analytics, all of your spreadsheets. We have Zia in Notebook. Now, Notebook may not seem like it needs Zia, but it allows you to easily classify and organize your notes. Something that you don't think about, but I never organize my notes. I'll tell you, I have an Apple notepad that has about 500 minimum notes, and they are not at all organized because they're not titled, they're not in any specific category, they're just one after the other based on how recently I edited them, right? Notebook will allow you to easily classify those a little bit better, and I'll show you more what that looks like in a minute. But let's look at Writer first. So as I mentioned, Zia is built into Zoho Writer to help you write better. So that means that she'll analyze your document and tell you spelling errors. That's not that fancy. Everyone can tell spelling errors, right? Grammar suggestions. Yeah, if you're not a natural writer, something like Grammarly can be huge when it comes to writing things that work well, that are easily understood. It gives you suggestions to make your phrases easier to understand, to make them more grammatically correct, to make sure you're not embarrassing yourself in front of customers. She can also tell you the ease of reading. So you can see here, whatever content you put in here, Zia will parse through it and tell you how easy is this going to be for someone to understand. Do you have a lot of run-on sentences? Do you have a lot of complex phrases jammed together? Do you have a lot of wordy phrases? Are there a lot of things that are in passive tone, meaning they're encouraging people to not do things now, but to have already done them? Simple things like this. And I was a literature major, I'll let you know, so I'm a big believer in like never use passive voice, for instance, especially in sales, because when you're talking to a customer in sales, if you're talking to them as if they've already done something or something is already going to happen, you're not probing them to take that action. And that's what so much of working with your customers is using this active language to really engage them while you're working with them. So I think that's a really cool feature within Zia here. But let's take a look at Zoho Writer. All right, so we are in Zoho Docs here, and we're going to go ahead and jump into a contract that we have. So here you can see here, the cool thing that I like to note about Writer in conjunction to other word processors is it really places the focus on the content. So you can see here, when we pull up this document, you don't see a lot of those toolbars. You don't see a lot of those taskbars, and you may be missing them. They're easy to find. This is less contextual integration and more just contextual enablement, because you see here, we have this focus on content, but as soon as I want to change something about any of this content, all I have to do is highlight it, not with the right side of the trackpad, is highlight it, and then we get this taskbar that pops up. This lets us change all of those things that we usually need to change, right? Font, boldness, size, whatever that is. And if you want more, we have this hamburger menu over here. Now you can just pull this up. And it still keeps the focus on your content, but it gives you all of these tools that you expect out of a word processor, right? These are all the things that you need to be successful. And a few things beyond that. So you can insert a whole bunch of tables and images here. That's pretty cool. You can set up your page a little bit differently. You can do a whole bunch of tools to, convert things or add a typewriter sound. I actually really like that feature. I like sounding like I'm on a typewriter. I think it's a lot of fun. And there's this automate tab here too. And this is where a lot of this document automation merging comes from. So you can see here, we're able to merge existing data or merge on form submission or publish fillable documents that people can go and fill out. You could have a public non-disclosure agreement about a specific event that people fill in their own details to. Automates that even further. You can also post a blog specifically from here, upload to sign services, start a sign workflow, all of those good things. And then we have Zia over here too. And we can open up Zia. She'll tell us about spelling errors, grammar errors, our ease of reading. And then she'll give us suggestions on the writing quality. So it's not just being able to track that writing quality, but it's being able to give you suggestions on how to improve it next time. And that's where it ends up making a big difference, is not just telling me it's bad, but telling me how to make it better. So let's go a little bit further. We talked about the ease of reading, talked about how she'll help you understand the problems. And this is one of the cool things about Zia in Writer is instead of just replacing what you've done or trying to correct it by letting you click a button, which you can do, it tries to educate you on why that was a problem and how you can avoid it next time. So Zia is actively trying to make you a better writer just by having you do your own job. Here, see, we're talking about writing quality, wordy phrases, passive sentences, all these good things that I've probably talked to you about for far too long. So where else can Zia help people's writing? Now, the cool thing is Zia is contextual to the app you're in. So for instance, the way that you write to customers in your CRM or in your sales solution is going to be a whole lot different than the way you want to write to customers in your support solution, right? In your sales, you're going to want to be a lot more active. In your support, you're going to want to be really supportive for them. You're going to want to always be sure that they have every possible solution, that you're taking care of everything you need. And then when you're in chat, you don't need to be really aggressive. So in chat, Zia is able to contextually be informal for you and enable that as well. In mail, same thing here. Well, let's talk about Zia in other applications. So here's some of the cool things that Zia can do within Zoho Sheet. So one of the cool things is it has automatic chart and pivot table suggestions. So this is based on the content of your spreadsheet. So let's take a look at this. Here we go. And we're going to go ahead and pull up a spreadsheet here. We have a sales report, and maybe we want to get some more insight on this sales report. So you can see we have a whole bunch of data here. It looks like we're selling stationery supplies, and we have a couple cool graphs here. But how did we get those there? So for that, we're going to go ahead and pull up Insights by Zia. Now Zia here, whoops, not specifically on that, is going to scan our spreadsheet and give us easy reports that we can then insert. So you can see here, it gives us automatic suggestions. I didn't configure anything to give us suggestions of what to see here. It's automatically suggested. Maybe you want to see the sum of sales by sales rep. Maybe you want to see these sales by region. You know what? Maybe I want to see the sales by region as a pie chart instead. Maybe I really like that report and I want to keep it in my spreadsheet so I can watch it. I just drag it over. And then I have that report here. When you insert new data to this spreadsheet, this report is going to update because it's pulling directly from the data in that spreadsheet. So this is one of the cool ways that Zia is really enabling you to analyze your data and get more insights from inside the application you're working in. There are a few more things that she can do within Sheet specifically. Data cleaning. So how many of you have had a spreadsheet of your sales reports and all of your sales members enter in their state with a different format? Like some people say CA in all caps. Some people it's California, Texas. Maybe it's T with a lowercase x, or maybe it's a TEX, right? This will allow you to go through and clean up those data inconsistencies. So you can literally select a column and say, correct inconsistencies. It will go through and change those to all of the same format for you. This is work that you normally have to do really manually. I've hired contractors to do this type of work before and paid them $15 an hour to do this kind of work. And that's great. I'm glad that we can do that. But this enables you to really automate that and skip a whole step when it comes to managing your data. You can also clean your data. So for instance, if you're looking for duplications, maybe the same thing. You have all of your salespeople turn in a spreadsheet, and some of them are working with the same customer. This will allow you to go through and clean up that spreadsheet for any duplicates if you'd like. You can customize this a lot too. So you can only search for specific duplicates. You can decide what you want to do with the duplicates when you find them. There are a lot of cool options here. But there are a few more things coming up that are really exciting. One of them is macros and custom functions to pull in customer information from other applications. So from inside Zoho Sheet, you can easily write a custom function or a macro that will allow you to pull in information from any other Zoho application. This is empowering your spreadsheet to become more of a database for you, to become something that you can really manage and automate. There's also some cool row-level integrations with Zoho Flow. It's something like Zapier. It's basically a drag-and-drop integration builder. Now what this does is it allows row-level integrations with Zoho Flow. So that means if you're managing your sales, if you're managing your support on a spreadsheet, this allows you to integrate those rows directly. So maybe as soon as a row is added, it adds a contact inside your CRM. Maybe as soon as a contact is added, it updates to a row in your spreadsheet. So this just enables your team to use whatever tools they find most productive while still centralizing that information so that you have access to it wherever you need it. OCR, so reading documents. So Zia will be able to read a document or a picture. If you take a picture, it'll be able to scan that and parse it into a spreadsheet for you. So you'll be able to turn that into documents, turn that into spreadsheets, even my really, really bad handwriting. So far, it's been able to work well with. There are also some data validation rules. So for instance, if you want to have a cell on your spreadsheet that has specific validations that need to be filled, you can fill in options here for like day of week or state, so you never even have to worry about those inconsistencies to start with. And we already talked about OCR. We got that in there again, just as a nice reminder. So let's talk about Zoho Notebook a little bit. Zoho Notebook is our note-taking application. And this is a little bit different than other Zoho applications because it's not just for business purposes. It's obviously for personal use too. So you can make grocery lists here. You can make to-do lists, whatever you need. There's some really cool checklists here that you can do as well. Two of the cool things that it really enables you to do is you can have separate notebooks for each of your different topics. So say you have a notebook specifically about your marketing. Those are all your marketing ideas in there. Something about your sales. And then maybe you have a personal notebook that's specifically for personal notes. You can filter things like that. But on top of that, you can use a whole bunch of different note card types. You can obviously take notes for text. Everyone can take notes for text. You can also write or sketch on a note card. You can upload an image. You can have a note card that's specifically for video or for an audio clip. There are just a whole bunch of different ways that it will allow you to take notes in whatever form that you like. And Zia is also enabling Zoho Notebook. So you can see here, Zia will be able to create smart cards. Now, one of the cool things about Notebook is there's a cool web clipper and an app for every single device that you have. So when you are, say, looking at a recipe online that you want to make tonight, you can go ahead and click that Notebook web clipper, and it will save that recipe for you. And because of Zia, because of these smart cards, it will parse that recipe for you. So it will tell you, hey, I'm going to bold this title for you. I'm going to put the person who wrote it afterwards, a little description. And then for your ingredients, I'm going to make you a checklist so that you know what to buy at the store or what you've already put in here. Just enabling that to be a lot easier for you. You can also search for notes. So if you pull up Siri, say like, hey Zia, I need my note for my quinoa salad recipe. So you can search for those notes. She can remind you to check certain things or help you share those notes. She can also suggest certain things. So Zia will go through, and she has natural language processing, which means that she can see what your note is about and suggest where you should categorize it. What notebook should that be in? What topic should it be under? How should it be tagged? There are a few other cool things stepping slightly outside of Zia and a little bit more into our Office suite. Now this is from Zoho Show. Zoho Show is what we've been presenting from all week, And what Zoho Show is really working on recently is having some really cool data visualization tools to help animate your presentations and engage your audience. So here you can see one of the things we have here is smart elements. So we have survey results that automatically fill like that. A cool animation that allows people to follow along. It allows you to pull those survey results automatically. We have some tables and charts, so you can easily embed tables and charts within your presentations and have those charts update in the back end without you ever having to go up and update your presentation or like take a screenshot or take a new screenshot 2 weeks later. This just has that automatically updating for you. And then we have some great animations here. So we have path animations that will enable you to visualize different customer journeys or just journeys through your presentations. So a lot of this is really just engaging with your audience and making sure that you are delivering information in the best way that they will understand, in the best way that they will be able to follow along. And that really kind of brings us back to these core values that kind of go across the streets. We're talking about the breadth of tools. We're talking about how deep each one can go into like note-taking. Why do we care that much about note-taking, right? Because we believe that it's all about these really deep functionality. And then about making things work together, right? Contextually integrating to give you the power to work from wherever you are. Now these are here just to help you kind of follow up later about some cool things that you can do. We talked about real-time collaboration in Zoho Writer. Obviously, you can use track changes to collaborate with your colleagues, have version history, again, macros and custom functions and sheets, different design tools and animations in Show, not to mention different Apple TV and Android apps. And then all of these things are contextually integrated. So you can easily convert notes into Writer. You can easily insert sheets and different charts and analytics into your docs, into your spreadsheets, integrate with row-level integration so that you can easily pull in CRM info or desk info into a spreadsheet, inserting those tables and linking data from any other apps. So really just centralizing all of these things so you have a whole lot less busy work. And with that, I am going to wrap up today with just this quick note that we talked about earlier. We're talking about business apps, we're talking about productivity tools, and really Zoho is just all about layering those things to make them work together and increase the efficiency for your business so that you're able to get more done. Thank you all so much.